being productive and not just busy, because they are two totally different things. You can be productive and busy, but if you're busy and not productive, it's really not going to work out in your favor.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I didn't realize it, but I think inherently people kind of adjust to these things. But Mike had some really interesting things in the way that he framed it up. And it's like once he said it, I was like, well, shit, I never thought about it like that. But I think that's actually the way that I kind of look at my day.
Yeah. So one of the things that it always bothers me is like you have these task lists and you just kind of you write them down and they like go on for days and days and days. And it's when you look at them, it's like extremely overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So, and I read this, and I think it made a lot of sense to me. So that's what started the conversation was basically separating them in. Every one of your tasks can fall into one of four categories, and those categories are: the first one is urgent and important, and then the second category would be important. The third one would be urgent, and then the fourth one would be none of that applies. So, basically the way that it works is that important is designated as something that only you can do. Mm-hmm. And then urgent is something that has to be done right away.
It doesn't necessarily have to get done by you, right?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. So when you're looking at it as far as urgent and important, that means it has to be done by you right away. So those are the ones that you got to focus on. That's one of the top quadrants that you focus on. And that might be things that, are on your task list that have to be done with your business or with, you got to pick up your kids or whatever it is. That's something that only maybe you can do depending on what your circumstance is. It's only you that can decide that, right? So then you have important. And those are things that if left undone, it'll cost you more money later. So like important, it only can be done by you, but like let's say a date night with your wife or getting your oil change fixed in your car. It's important. It has to get done, but it doesn't have to get done today. But if you let it go for long, you're going to end up spending money on a brand new engine instead of just getting the oil change, right? And then urgent are things that have to get done, but you could delegate that to somebody else. And, so those are just things that when you're looking at all of you going down your task list, you kind of put those into different range. It allows you to prioritize and you focus on really the things that are important and urgent and just important. Because then anything that doesn't fall into those categories, that's just you're wasting time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of it for me as you were talking about this stuff and I started to unpack it, I never looked at it like that. But for an entrepreneur, it's kind of like self-preservation. You learn to do these things and understand like there are things that nobody else in the building can handle except for me. And so, anything other than that, I'm divvying those things out and letting people handle those things. And I think for me, it wasn't any thought process. It's more self-preservation. It's like, dude, how can I possibly do all this? I have to figure out how to delegate more to people. And that's why it comes down to having good people, having a good team, because then you can offload those things. When I offload something from me, I know that it's going to get done because the people I have in the building are very competent and they understand that the way that we work, right? So yeah, it was really eye-opening to know. And I think that's the way most people probably operate. And if you're not, you really should start looking at things like this because it's just going to make your life easier.
When Mike first talked about the 4 quadrants, the delegation was the key thing that stood out to me because if you're not delegating any tasks, and like you said, as an entrepreneur, I feel like we hear this a lot. It's very hard to let go of the reins sometimes and delegate out other tasks because you're so used to taking on everything by yourself. But that could be the key at the end of the day of being more productive and not just busy all of the time.
You can't grow unless you ultimately are able to do this. And you really, because I think entrepreneurs are so involved in their business, they're so knee deep in it that they miss this big thing, learning how to delegate. Listen, it's hard to do sometimes, but when you bring people on, make sure that's why the hiring process is so important because it really stunts your ability to grow if you're not doing this. Having good people allows you, and sometimes it's just in the beginning you just kind of take a risk and say, listen, I can't get to all this. I'm going to start delegating, and then you watch your people either step up or you realize that you have a problem.
Yeah, I think that's why Gary Vee also says to promote fast. He promotes super fast because that's what he's doing. He's delegating all these different things. He's giving those responsibilities out, allowing that person to grow. And, again, we always talk about failing fast, but that's part of it. You know, that's how you learn. You just keep moving and keep pushing. That's the only way you're going to grow.
The only way. Yeah. You just have to jump. It's scary at first because it's like, are they going to do this the right way? Are they going to communicate the right way? But you got to just let people go. And then if there's a way that you would prefer them to communicate, then you correct that as you go. But the whole idea is keep moving, like Mike said, keep moving. And this is your only way that you're able to grow. You got to get stuff off of your plate and get it onto other people's plate so you can focus on growing your business.
Well, guys, you heard it here. The inability to delegate tasks is going to be the ultimate reason why you can't grow any faster.
That's it.